If you're seriously considering moving to Viera, Florida, stop. Not because it's a bad idea, but because there's a specific set of financial realities that most people don't figure out until after they've already signed the paperwork. And by then, it's too late to recalibrate. This video is the conversation you should have had before you started your Zillow search. Here's what nobody tells you about moving to Viera. The house payment is the easy part. It's everything around the house that's going to catch you off guard, and I'm not talking about groceries and gas. I'm talking about costs that are specific to this part of Florida. Costs that can shift your monthly budget by hundreds of dollars that nobody bothers to mention in a relocation video, so stay with me. I want to talk to the person who has done the research, ran the numbers, and feels like they've got a solid handle on what it's going to cost to live in Viera. This video is specifically for you because in my experience, the person has almost always underestimated somewhere between $500 and maybe even $1,500 a month. So let me show you where. All right, if you don't have time to watch the whole thing, here's the short version. 5 things you need to know about the real cost of living in Viera in 2026. 1, your homeowner's insurance. It's going to be higher than you think, probably significantly higher. Florida insurance is its own conversation, and I'm going to walk you through the numbers. 2, HOA fees in Viera are not optional add-ons. They're built into the fabric of almost every community here. You need to understand what you're paying for before you assume it's too expensive or assume it covers everything. 3, property taxes in Viera are lower than many states people are relocating from. There are nuances depending on whether you have homestead exemption in year 1, and most people moving here don't realize they won't qualify until year 2. 4, the cost of utilities here is seasonal in a way that probably doesn't match where you're coming from. Your summer electric bills will get your attention. We'll talk about that. 5, lifestyle spending in Viera has a ceiling and a gap. There are things you'll spend less on here than you would before, and then there are things that are simply aren't available locally yet, and getting to them costs time and money. Okay, so that's the overview. Now let me actually walk you through it. Here's the mental picture most people come in with when they're researching Viera. They see a planned community, newer construction, good school ratings, low crime, and compared to wherever they're coming from, whether that's North Virginia, Chicago suburbs, somewhere in California, or parts of New York, the home prices look accessible. Sometimes they look almost too good. And so the math in their head goes something like this. If I can buy a house for $100,000 to $150,000 less than what I'm in now, I'm ahead and I've won. Here's where people get this wrong. The equity gap or purchase price difference doesn't automatically translate into a lower monthly cost of living, at least not dollar for dollar, because the cost structure of owning a home in Florida is genuinely different than most of the country. Not necessarily worse, just different. And if you model it like you modeled your last house, you might be off. Let me give you a specific scenario. A family relocates from the Mid-Atlantic. They were paying $4,200 a month for their mortgage on a home they're now selling. They buy in Viera for $550,000, put 20% down, and their principal and interest monthly payment comes to about $2,900 at today's rates. They're thinking, I just freed up over $1,200 a month. Then the insurance quote comes back. They were paying $1,800 to $2,200 a year on homeowners insurance back home. In Viera, Brevard County on Florida's East Coast, that same home could run them somewhere between $4,500 and $7,500 a year, depending on the age of the home, the roof, and the carrier. That's a swing of maybe $300 to $450 a month they weren't planning. Then the HOA. Let's say they're in one of the larger master plan communities in Viera. The HOA could be $300 to $600 a quarter. Some are more. Some include amenities, some don't. That's another $100 to $200 a month they may have not factored in. Now, add the summer electric bill. July and August in this part of Florida, running the AC all day in a 2,500 square foot house, you're looking at electric bills $300 to $500, depending on the efficiency of the home and how the system's set up. That's higher than most people expect. Nobody talks about this part. Year one property taxes before your homestead exemption kicks in. Florida's homestead can reduce your assessed value by up to $50,000 for tax purposes, but you have to apply for it and you have to be living in the home as your primary residence by January 1st of the next tax year. So if you close in February, March, or later in the year, you're not going to get in until the following year. That means your first full year of taxes is calculated without it. On a $550,000 home in Brevard, that could be a difference of $700 to $1,000 in taxes for that first year. I'll come back to some specific strategies in just a moment, but first let me introduce myself quickly for anyone that's new here. Hey, I'm Carrie Leota. I'm a Space Coast realtor and I run a Facebook called Moving to Brevard County, Florida. Inside that group, it's a mix of people who have already made the move and people exactly like you, mid-research, trying to get real answers. Not marketing, not hype, real conversations about what it actually costs, what it actually feels like, and what people wish they knew before they moved. People in there ask questions in there that they'd feel weird Googling, and the locals in the group answer it honestly. If that sounds useful to you and you're watching this, it probably does. Scan that QR code on the screen and come join us. It's free and it might save you some expensive surprises. Okay, so let's get back to the numbers. Here's the practical move. Before you ever look at a price range, sit down and build what I call your true cost number. Your mortgage payment is one line, but you need to put HOA, insurance, property taxes, and the CDD fees, yes, Community Development District fees, exist in parts of Viera, and they're separate from your HOA and utilities, all on the same page. This is the part that surprises people. CDD fees. In some of the newer sections of Viera, you will see CDD fees on your property tax bill. This is a fee that funds the infrastructure of the community, roads, drainage, that kind of thing. It's not the same as your HOA, and it's not something you can opt out of. And it can range from a few $100s to over $2,000 a year, depending on the community and where they are in paying down the original bond. Before you make an offer on any home in Viera, just ask specifically, is there a CDD fee? What is the current annual fee and how many years are left on it? This alone can change whether a house is genuinely a good value or not. One of the top reasons people choose Viera is the school system, and the reputation is well earned. Brevard County schools and the schools that serve Viera specifically show up well on most of the national reporting sites. But here's what I want you to understand. School zoning in this area is not something you can assume based on the neighborhood name. It is specific to the address. I've had people tell me that they want to be in Viera, but Viera isn't a city with hard borders. It's a master planned development that spans multiple zip codes and school zones. 2 streets apart can mean different elementary schools, and if the specific school is part of the reason you're making the move, then you need to verify the zoning on the exact address, not the community name, not the subdivision, the specific street address. Brevard County Schools has a school finder on their website. Just use that. Every address you get serious about, run it. Here's where people get this wrong. They assume the newer community, the better the school. That's not always the correlation here. Some of the more established parts of Viera have access to schools with longer track records. Newer sections are sometimes served by schools that are still building their reputation. Neither is disqualifying, but you should know what you're getting into before you're under contract. Okay, so Viera is not downtown. It's not near a major city. And one of the things I see trip people up who relocate here for more urban or suburban environments is that they underestimate how much of their lifestyle they were outsourcing to proximity. What I mean is certain restaurants, certain types of medical specialists, certain cultural amenities, certain retail, those things may require a drive, and the drive is not always trivial. Viera has a solid commercial corridor on Wickham and Stadium Parkway. There are grocery options, there are restaurants, there's a hospital, but if you've been living 10 minutes from a broad range of options, you may need to recalibrate. Here's the honest framing. Most people who move here acclimate to this and eventually stop thinking about it. But there is usually a 60 to 90 day adjustment period where they feel the friction. I'd rather you go in expecting that than be caught off guard by it. Now, Nobody talks about this part. The beach. Viera is about 15 to 20 minutes from the Atlantic Ocean, depending on where you are. That's one of the genuinely underrated aspects of living here. It's not a vacation destination beach. It's your local beach. And for people who factor quality of life into their cost of living calculation, that has real value. Here's where I want to land this. Viera is not the right fit for everyone, but for people who move here with accurate expectations, who've done the real math, who understand the insurance market, who've looked at the actual total cost and still said yes, it tends to work out great. The communities are established, the infrastructure is solid, it's quiet in a way that's intentional, not accidental. The people who struggle are almost always people who modeled the move on incomplete information, not bad information, just incomplete. And that's a fixable problem, which is kind of the point of this video. You don't need to move here, you need to move here informed. Those are different things, and the second one leads to a much better outcome. If you have questions I didn't cover, drop them in the comments. I read them. And if you want to be around people already having these conversations, people who've made the move, people who are where you are right now, just scan that QR code and join the Facebook group. I'll see you in there, and I will see you in the next video.